back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show following all the news and rumors on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series. I'm Max Scoville, filling in for Daemon Hatfield, and today I'm joined by Ryan McCaffrey, host of IGN's Xbox podcast, Podcast Unlocked.
Hey, Max.
Hey, good to see you. And Brian Altano, host of a bunch of other things, who owns a PlayStation 5 and was free on a Wednesday.
Yeah, that's really all it takes to get here.
Today we'll be discussing subscriptions within subscriptions, since some PlayStation Plus subscribers will also be getting a sampling of free Ubisoft Plus games, and also we have a better idea of what the various PlayStation Plus tiers include. And of course we have a recent earning report to give us an idea of what EA and Take-Two have in store for the next year. But first, let's talk about the world of game subscriptions. Ryan, Game Pass has been going on for a while. Obviously, that's one of the best things Xbox has going for it.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. No, it's flat out awesome. I can say that. I'm obviously in the middle. I'm completely unbiased.
Physically in the middle, yes.
Yeah, no, you've taken a look at what the PlayStation has to offer. How do you think that stacks up compared to what Game Pass has been doing?
I mean, it's the bottom line is the day one first party stuff. That's really the main differentiator. And I mean, I definitely see a ton of value in what Sony's doing, and it's good to see. I mean, I really think Microsoft deserves credit for kind of dragging Sony to this place. I mean, we'll never know in this universe. They'd have to go to a parallel Earth, but I got to figure. I'm not sure Sony breaks from their status quo of just selling millions of $70 copies of all their first-party games and not bothering with much of a subscription service if they don't have Microsoft kind of nudging them towards this. But yeah, I mean, Microsoft's having a bit of a dry year, so this is a chance for Sony with to bring in their subscription revamp services and get some attention to themselves on this and see what kind of start they can get and try to catch up to the 25 million Game Pass Plus.
It's wild. You're talking about value. Let's actually go over this really quick. Basically, the PlayStation Plus breakdown. There's the PlayStation Plus Essentials, which is what PlayStation Plus has been for the last however many years. There's PlayStation Plus Extra, which is $100 a year, and there's PlayStation Plus Premium, which is $120 a year. Mm-hmm. The Extra comes with a bunch of PS4 and 5 games, which are downloadable. There's, I think, going to be 400 in total eventually, and then the Premium adds on an extra 300 games, which includes older, deeper cut stuff like PS1, PSP, and then PS3 streaming stuff. So
right, not to mention the PlayStation Plus Collection, which is a curated list of predetermined games that are available on PS5. That has nothing to do with any of that, but shares similar naming conventions.
Right. It's a lot to take in. It's honestly, there's really kind of a stupid amount to unpack. But I kind of wheel it back a little bit. And the thing, I was looking at this, and it seems like a high price tag. I think when you break it down, there's a bunch of different ones. But what occurred to me is that Xbox Game Pass Ultimate is $14.99 a month, which is $180 a year.
Yeah.
And frequently you can get like a Black Friday deal, or a box of Cheez-Its gives you 3 months free or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't want to be like a Times Square watch salesman or something and like point at it, but like never pay full price for these things. Like there's always cheaper ways to get into them. So, but yeah, the MSRP at face value is $15 a month for Game Pass, and then obviously you've got multiple tiers on the PlayStation side.
That said, I do appreciate Sony offering a cheaper annual subscription on the up and up, which Microsoft does not do. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I'd love to see Microsoft do.
And it's going to be interesting to see if Sony wiggles at all with this, like if they have any crazy promotion with a popular snack food, or just crazy deals. If they treat this as a thing that you can get a deal on, or if it's just going to be locked at that.
Like what is the PlayStation equivalent of Cheez-Its? Right?
I don't know. I feel like it's going to be like something a little bit more bougie, I don't know.
You don't have to have an answer for that. That was a very specific question.
Anyway, what's interesting here is I was thinking about it. Obviously, Xbox has a pretty big library at this point, going back to the original Xbox.
Yeah.
And most of it's pretty compatible with other generations, whereas the PlayStation has a 5-6 year head start. They've got the PS1.
Sure.
And then there's the fact that the PS2 has a library. I think it's about almost four times as much as the original Xbox, and that's not counting PSP and Vita.
True.
But of course they have all sorts of weird compatibility issue, and then it comes down to streaming and stuff. So there's more, but it's complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's interesting to think about sort of how they're competing differently.
Yeah, I mean, we got a good look at their game lineup this week, which was really cool to see because I thought they would kind of be quiet for a little while until they had some sort of showcase or something this month or next month. But I'm happy with where it is right now. It's definitely not the big list of 700 games everyone expected it to be. And there are all the weird caveats, like the PS3 library is streaming only because that was a notoriously difficult system to design games for at the time, and the emulation side of it has been just as tricky. A little bit easier. There's been some headway over the last few years, but I like where it is right now. I like where it's going. I think it is an interesting prospect of saying, do we want to look at this thing as like what Xbox is doing is you get these big games day and date, but there haven't been a lot of them recently. Or Sony being like, you don't get those big games day and date, but we do have like this back catalog of a lot of other stuff. So I guess it does depend on what your preference is in terms of legacy libraries currently, because you're not, with Xbox games getting delayed this year and with PlayStation games not hitting the service day one, it's an army of everything underneath the top to see what's competing and what you prefer best.
Yeah, Sony's got a lot more nostalgia to tap into, like you were alluding to there, Max, but unfortunately for them, I don't know if they would change anything if they could go back in time, but by not using an x86 architecture all the way for their consoles and all, one proprietary chip after another, it's, from a technical perspective, made compatibility a giant nightmare for them now as gamers want that and expect it, whereas Microsoft, having been a PC company all these years, started with an x86. They started with a PC that they just shoved into a giant green box and have continued from there. And so compatibility has been not only kind of in their DNA, but on the technical side, it's just all been a smooth road.
The interesting thing is some of the like PS3 games you can only stream, and then some PS4 and 5 games you can only download, or that they don't mention anything about streaming. But you look at what Xbox is doing with like xCloud, and it's take your pick. Like, do you want this in the ultimate possible fidelity and just spend 3 hours downloading it, or do you just want to check it out right now? And
all the enhancements they've done to all the FPS boosts they've done to old stuff.
Exactly,
and it's a very PC-like way to go about things, and in this case, it's worked out really well for them. They don't have quite as deep of a back catalog to tap into, but it's still been great to be able to go back to the original Knights of the Old Republic, which is my favorite RPG of all time, and it's just it's in 1080p now, and it just runs better, and I can just I play it, I still own it, it's right there. That's great.
That's the exact kind of care I want to see taken across the board for the whole industry, but especially with the stuff happening with PlayStation. There's a lot of really cool legacy games there that could benefit from a boost like that, and I hope that they reach that point. I think they'll maybe try with a few, but I hope that just becomes a thing that becomes part of their passion and their dedication, because Xbox got really good about being like, here's all these old games, we're bringing them up, you haven't played them in years, and they look sort of how you think you remember them, which is a very nice thing to reach for.
By the way, remind me after the show to go download Super Mario Bros. 3 for the 37th time on the Nintendo side.
Exactly.
But that's neither here nor there.
Speaking of what you talked about PS3, and you gave me weird flashbacks of playing Skyrim on PS3 and having to leave all of my swords before I walk through a door.
Yeah, that was
or the system would have exploded.
So bumpy ride.
Growing pains,
Now, in addition to obviously Sony and Microsoft putting their own games on these platforms, we found out that Ubisoft Plus is going to be coming to PlayStation Plus for, I believe, the top 2-tier subscribers, which is not the full Ubisoft Plus experience, but it's some Ubisoft Plus classics. Ubisoft Plus, that new thing. It already has classics. But no, a handful of Ubisoft games are going to be included sort of with this, with the PlayStation Plus library. It's unclear, like it says AC Valhalla's in here. There's a couple mention of
I
think that one is in the regular PlayStation thing without the help of Ubisoft, but there's a bunch of other Ubisoft games thrown in there. Ryan, this feels a little bit like EA Play as attached to Game Pass Ultimate. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big get for Microsoft in the earlier days of Game Pass, when it was just a tumbleweed for first-party offerings. And then suddenly EA Play is bundled in this, and you can get a bunch more stuff that's current and fresh and new and anticipated titles. So that's been I don't really hear anybody talk about it anymore. I think it's because we've just kind of come to take it for granted and expect it, and that's not a bad thing, but yeah, it is kind of a quiet, unsung part of the value of Game Pass Ultimate for that $15 a month.
Now, do you see them sort of Ubisoft jumping to Xbox and EA jumping to Sony at any point, or do you think this is sort of picking sides?
I mean, I can't imagine it's in the best interests of either of those major third-party publishers to pick a side. I mean,
right.
Why leave tens of millions of users on either side out of it? You want to get because now we live in this age where it's as you see with free-to-play games and so many things, you just want to get your game into people's hands, even if they're not paying $60-$70, just because if you can hook them in there, you can keep them in there, then you can monetize them through DLC. So it's almost like these services are basically just Trojan horses to get their get into your living room.
It also gets you in on the ground floor of being like, hey, this was my first Assassin's Creed game. I played it for free. I love this franchise now.
Exactly.
I'm going to go buy the other ones. I'm going to buy the next one, whatever it is. I'm totally with you on that. I think it would be really cool to see EA and Ubisoft bring both of their libraries to PlayStation Plus and Game Pass. Because, like you said, it doesn't really help anybody if they're just like, we're over here for this and we're over here for this, because they're still going to be selling $60, $70 third-party games across platforms. They'll still sell box copies of games and digital downloads. This is just like an extra bonus. And a lot of these games are probably games that they're starting to see diminishing returns on in terms of actual MPD month-over-month sales. So this is a good place to get people to go, yeah, I'll buy this, and I'll buy that weird $10 thing that helps you jump up 100 levels, and I won't tell anyone I did that. Because I'm a tired father.
Sneaky way to go about it. But Ubisoft says that Ubisoft Plus is going to be expanding to 50 titles by the end of the year. And then, of course, Sony's also going to be showing off the rest of this massive 700-game library. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone's exactly keeping track of each individual game on here. Like, nobody, I was actually had to dig around a little bit to find, like, what is the current roster of Game Pass games? Because nobody's playing 400 games at once. Like, nobody's doing that. So it's kind of, it's a service. It's an ongoing thing. And I feel like we have this kind of gamer mindset to be like, do I pre-order this thing, or do I back this thing? Do I jump on this bandwagon? And it's like, you can, hop on the bandwagon whenever. It's an ongoing thing. So
it feels like we're in like a big crowd, and you can see when people walk in and you can see when people walk out, but you don't really care when they're actually there. It's just nice to have them around you, right? Like it's a big stink when Microsoft is like, this is leaving Game Pass this month, because people are like, games are going away. I better finish that game immediately. So in terms of the library on PlayStation right now, like it'll definitely get bigger, it'll definitely get better. But right now, like it's hard to keep score about how many games are here and how many games are there, because no one is going to be playing all of them. Yeah. Maybe they are.
Someone will find a way.
Now, we touched briefly on, I guess, EA making a bunch of money with games as service. That was going to be a segue. I don't know if I'm going with it, so let's just jerk the wheel. Take-Two did a big earnings call, spoke a little bit about sort of what's in store, what's going on. For anybody who's possibly concerned about them getting scooped up or acquired, they said they like being an independent organization. And there are 18 new releases planned in the coming year, including The Quarry, Marvel's Midnight Suns, NBA 2K23, WWE 2K23, PGA Tour 2K23, and Kerbal Space Program 2. There's going to be a new sports title from 2K, which is likely the NFL arcade game, and a new franchise from Private Division, and of course, Tales from the Borderlands 2. And then, of course, there are some wonderful, mysterious things, 8-of-which are mobile games, and one is a new iteration of a previously released title available for purchase, which sounds an awful lot like a remake or a remaster.
Right.
Is that what that's code for? Why couldn't they have just said that?
Yeah, that was a long way to explain that.
Yeah. But no, I guess that's exciting, like nostalgia's always fun, and I feel like with recent exceptions, Take-Two has done some pretty good, remasters of previous games. Ryan, what game popped into your head when you heard about this?
Well, they've done the BioShock collection last gen. They did Mafia, the Mafia trilogy, which particularly that remake of Mafia 1, which is still my favorite Mafia game. I think Mafia 2 is probably a better game. I have a soft spot for 1. Great remake on that. But I would say I'd love to see Spec Ops: The Line. That's just this. It's kind of that. I don't know if cult hit's quite the right descriptor for that, but
no, I think that's good.
It's a great game with a great story. One of the better. It's always called out as a game with one of the better stories we've ever seen in a game, and it's that would be a good one to modernize and bring back. I think I'd love to see that.
Totally agree.
Brian, anything come to mind for a remake?
I really, this is weird, but I really want them to remake or remaster GTA 4. Now, I know, everyone they just want that number to go forward to 6. I totally get it. I do too. we keep reading about GTA 5. We're all fatigued on it, but 4 feels like this weird, like, thing that they forgot exists. Like, they don't really talk about it much. They don't really address it. It doesn't get it doesn't get like new generation bumps. It's never been like, you know, it doesn't get remastered for every new console that comes out or anything like that. It's not on mobile. Like, they don't think about it. They don't care about it.
It was the game that had the original. That was the first version of the Rage engine after Rockstar Table Tennis, which is a unique little story unto itself. But if we do bring that back, we got to get the driving mechanics from GTA 5 into GTA 4. Because you're right, the comedy and humor in GTA 4 is unbelievably. That is one of the funniest games I've ever played in my life.
Taking somebody on a date in a helicopter and then ending up in like a 6-star police chase and bailing on the helicopter is it's probably the hardest I've ever laughed playing a video game. But yeah, I'm with you. There's a lot of things you can do there. You can, I don't know, maybe optionally add some colors other than sepia tones.
I mean, you look at how much time people have spent on PC modding that and just tweaking it and fixing the driving, or, you know, adding new colors so it doesn't look entirely muddy. There's a lot you can do there, and I mean, that's sort of what we saw, you know, Bethesda do with Skyrim, was kind of take a cue from the modders, maybe, you know, copy their homework a little bit, and then I don't know, that would be pretty cool. I'd love to see Bully.
Yeah.
Bully would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, GTA 6 has officially been announced, so Rockstar can actually go into their back catalog and mess around a little bit, because they told everyone that the one thing that they want more than anything is happening. So if they just give us some treats from the library to hold us over until 6 gets here, I'm very cool with that.
Also, The Lost and the Damned, but especially The Ballad of Gay Tony was excellent.
Awesome. Yeah.
Excellent expansion.
Yep.
Yeah, well, there's a big library to pull from. It's probably going to be something none of us are thinking of. They're going to take that unreleased Duke Nukem Forever and then put it in the new engine. What could go wrong? We also got the EA earnings call, which talked a little bit about what they've got planned. Most of it we knew about. Some of it you probably could have guessed. It's this year's version of last year's thing. F1 22 in Q1, FIFA and Madden NFL in Q2, Need for Speed and NHL in Q3, and then Q4, which covers January through March of 2023, because they use, I guess, a made-up calendar over there. You've got PGA Tour, and then, of course, the mystery stuff, the big question mark boxes, which include such hits as major IP, partner title, remake, and sports title. So we've got yet another remake floating around there. Ryan, anything?
Well, I think I can translate partner title into Star Wars game.
Yeah.
It would seem, and that could be, that could be anything at this point. It's probably, is it Jedi Fallen Order 2, I guess?
I mean,
probably. That would make them, that's the lowest hanging fruit.
It's been a few years since the last one. They have the groundwork down. It doesn't have to be Cal Kestis again, but there's a literal galaxy to explore, so they'll just go to Tatooine. But no, I think it's a great idea. I hope that's exactly what it is, because I love Fallen Order.
And don't forget, Skate got announced in one of the weirdest announcements we've ever seen in our professional lives, which was that was like 3 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a while back.
Nobody knows if skateboarding is a sport, but we do know it's not a crime, so that's good. As for the remake,
it's in the Olympics. It's a sport.
I don't know. I don't trust those guys over there. What do you think about the remake?
It depends on where you do it.
Yeah. We know about the Dead Space remake. I guess does that count? Or are they just being vague about it? Could there be something else they've got in store?
There is quite a catalog back in ye olden days when EA made a lot of original games that weren't sports games, but I don't even know where I would start with a remake of something from the EA back catalog. I mean, my heart would say a game that they'll never make, which is Burnout. We're never getting a new Burnout. The original creators of Burnout left and started their own studio and made a game called Dangerous Driving, which is kind of the closest thing, but it's a little lower budget. It's not quite the,
Yep.
And the Criterion as it is now, they've merged multiple teams and they're on Need for Speed duty for the rest of their waking lives, which is fine. But yeah, Burnout is, if that got remade, I would be cheering in the same way that I remember back in the IGN war room at E3, however many years ago, when they finally announced a second Mirror's Edge game, and Keza McDonald and I were like, yes, we did it.
I have such fond memories of playing that Burnout demo they put on 360. I played it for hundreds of hours, and then the full game came out, and I played it even more.
What if they just remade the demo?
I'm down. I'll take
less work. Less,
you know what?
Less burnout for the devs.
Can't possibly get delayed that many times. It seems like just remake demos.
All right. Well, we're going to start wrapping things up. We have last week's poll results. We asked you which will be your main character in Gotham Knights, and the leader was not the leader. The winner. I guess they all kind of work together as a team. Batman's theoretically the leader. Anyway, Nightwing 44.7%, Red Hood 23.7%, Batgirl at 17.9%, and Robin 13.7%.
Ooh,
Yeah,
they did.
F
They
Robin.
did.
I hate
Yeah,
Robin.
No.
They did.
I'm totally on with our audience on this.
Bummer. Now, of course, we want to talk about remakes and remasters because who wants new games when you could have old games looking prettier? So we talked about some of these, but the options are GTA 4, Bully, Spec Ops: The Line, Red Dead Revolver / Redemption, the old one, and GTA Chinatown Wars, and then the dark horse here, Top Spin.
Oh, that's a good choice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Man.
I got real good at Top Spin 1. That was in the XSN days when Xbox was doing their own, before they got EA to bring their games to Xbox Live. Microsoft had to do their own thing. Top Spin was real good.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. That's about it for this edition of Next Gen Console Watch. We'll be back next Friday at 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern with more PS5 and Xbox Series X and S news. We'll see you then.